I believe I could hurt any man on the planet.
Okay, time to throw my hat into the ring. Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to the channel. I don't know how you found me, but you know, you're welcome. And I want to talk about something very special to me, something near and dear to my heart. I want to talk about how these guys, and I'm probably just gonna like put up an image of like all the dicks, you know, Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, Spicy Joe, Methuselah, you know, just all those little cutie boys. I want to talk about how they're all really, really degrading to men. All of those guys do not like men, specifically for the things that make them men. It's misandry. Misandry, I declare.
I declare misandry.
And look, there are a lot of really, really great videos specifically going into how these guys are super, super misogynistic, and that's really great. Tons of great videos on that subject, and some of the better videos on that subject really do allude to the manosphere's anti-man stance, but none of them really, I think, explicitly call it out. I mean, I haven't watched every video on it, but you get what I mean. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to call them out. But I do want to do more than just call them out. I want to know why we as men can listen to these guys degrade us, condescend us, and basically hate on us. And we're just like, yep, that's scans. That's seems right. That seems like facts and logic. It seems like the truth no one wants to hear. But Chris, you say, what do you mean? How can this be? Misandry? But these guys are alpha-based wolf kings. They're the sigma and the omega, the lambda, the pi, other Greek letters, but not beta. Never beta. Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get into it. Delta, delta. Myron Bangs, Fresh and Fit, Sneeko, Tate, Bubblegum Stevens. It's really, really clear that they think men are better than women. I'm sorry. Did I say better? I don't mean better. Men aren't better than women. They're just different. Men and women are different. Men are logical. Women are emotional. Men are leaders. Women are followers. Men are masters. Women are property. It's just about being different. So there's that. But it's also clear that when they're talking about men in this equation and fun little comparison that they do, they're talking about a really specific type of man, a really specific idea of what a man is or should be. A real man, they say, is dominant. A real man takes charge. He takes control. He's a fighter. He's naturally territorial. His brain is in the shape of Conan the Barbarian. In other words, a rough sketch of a person, a cartoon, a malnourished idea of a human being with very few traits. Their concept of manhood and masculinity doesn't allow for vulnerability of any kind, prolonged struggles with mental illness, non-dominant sexual kinks, a desire to be nurturing, male intimacy, polyamory, being a stay-at-home dad, having low income, being overweight, sure as hell being gay or trans isn't on the list. And if you're any of those things, you are not a real man. Most crucially to my point, if you disagree with their worldview, you're also disqualified from being a real man. No, instead, you're a soy boy, beta cuck, beta cuck. And if you do have or are any of those things that I just listed, they're not misandrists for basically hating you. No, because you're not real men. On the contrary, they're concerned for you. The real reason why you're unsuccessful and unhappy is because you're not acting like a silverback gorilla and subscribing to their weird service. You simply need to just strip away all the things that make you a three-dimensional human being, clip your wings, make yourself as scant as possible so you can flatten yourself into their two-dimensional mold of what a man is supposed to be. And if that sounds painful, don't worry, you will get success in the areas that you want success if you just do this one trick. No pain, no gain, right? But enough yapping. Let's look at the f***ing receipts.
We are all humans, you know? It is not a debate about women against men. I think that's something that I feel it in the table. Like,
hold on. Here's the thing, though. Your feelings are irrelevant to fact.
But I'm not talking about feelings. Mostly, I'm talking about the fact that we are all humans, and humans have feelings, and you are mostly an emotional being. More than you want to think that you are a logical being, you are a highly emotional being.
Okay,
and you might want to deny that, but the truth is, you just had an altercation with somebody else, told them to leave out of emotion.
No, out of principle and fact. She cut me off twice, and then we said, "Hey, one more time," and then she did it again. And after we warned her, so
yeah, and when she left, you can take yourself home, and that's an emotional reaction.
No, listen, it's a fact reaction. She can leave,
physically get up and leave because
I'm talking about the afterward
don't cut me off.
Okay, so this guest on Fresh and Fit correctly draws a connection between being human and being an emotional creature. That doesn't mean we can't be rational or logical, but that we also have emotions and feelings which do play a big part in our behavior, decision-making, bias, and opinions. This is a scientifically factual description of humanity, and therefore men. And it bothers the Fresh and Fit crew because it implicates them as being emotional, which they view as inherently female, not for men. But Chris, how is this connected to your inflammatory claims about Misandry? Well, while it's clear that Fresh and Fit and the broader manosphere think that men are better than women, did I say better again? I'm sorry, I meant different. I meant different. It's also clear that there's no space for emotional reasoning or emotional self-understanding in their ideal masculinity, which these guys supposedly embody. Otherwise, they wouldn't be offering their advice to other men for money. So in other words, any man who acknowledges their humanity is to be looked down on, to be seen as lesser. This is what feminists are talking about when they talk about fragile masculinity. It's a form of masculinity that acts tough, but gets triggered at the mere suggestion that they are well-rounded human beings with feelings. If your worldview doesn't allow men to be human beings who feel things, can you really claim to care about them?
I have zero sympathy for most of you guys because the lives you live are the lives you have built for yourselves. You've built it for yourself from head to toe. Blind luck has given you a favorable hand and you've managed to fuck it up. You don't deserve any fucking pussy. Damn. I deserve it all. So fuck you.
So that clip was taken from an upload on the Fresh and Fit YouTube channel entitled Andrew Tate Reveals Why He Hates Beta Males. I mean, it's all in the title. The subset of men who think and act differently than they do should be hated. Sure, maybe they're not hating on all men here, but they're choosing to judge and hate a group of men for how they do manhood. Not for any other reason, but how they express themselves as men. That's still hatred on the basis of gender.
Men and women, we're very different. We have opposing goals. Like girls are trying to, get resources, time, attention out of guys. Guys are trying to get sex. Men are trying to get sex. Women are trying to get resources, time, attention, whatever it is that they're looking for.
Did you catch that? Brittany Renner did.
That's all you guys are. So you're saying men are just limited to just sex. That's all they care about is sex. Yes or no? That's all you guys care about. There's no emotional need. It's just my dick, cum, sex. I want a hole.
What's funny is that even though these guys catch a lot of shade for being really misogynistic and degrading toward women, which they should, Myron Gaines here is allowing women to have way, way, way more humanity in this equation than men. Women get to want a bunch of things. Men only want one thing. The implication here is that women don't want to have sex with men for sexual gratification, and that's dumb. And that men are just these sex zombies. That's all we want from women. It's just sex. Sex, that's it. You see how that's really insulting to all of us as men, right? Why do women want to have sex with men? Because of resources and time. Who knows about these things anyway?
There's really a lot to unpack here.
But the other implication is that she's never going to want to sleep with you as a man for who you are. Not for your personality, not for your character. Your humanity will just be an afterthought to her, only after you've checked the boxes of her superficial materialistic requirements. I guess resources and attention and time and... That doesn't just paint women as materialistic. That tells men that their personality doesn't matter. The straight guys can never hope to experience a woman wanting us for who we are, a woman wanting us the same way that we might want them. Look, I want to stop and examine something. A lot of us want sex, and that's not just because we're really in the mood. If it were just about sexual gratification, we'd all be a lot more satisfied with our right hand. Or left hand, I guess. If you're a freak, you're a freak. The thing is, men have pretty much been told since day one that sex, getting sex, that is not just your path forward to get pleasure. It's your path forward to find respect and intimacy, support, self-actualization. Stuff literally every human being wants. Man or not. A lot of times, straight men are so desperate to be successful with women because it means finally being validated as a man, and therefore as a successful person. Because as men, we're not often allowed to let our emotional guard down. Gay, bro, it's so gooey. So the only way that we're allowed to feel cared for and nurtured and intimate is through a romantic partner, or like our mom. And you can kind of see then how some men may develop a complex around that. By the way, no judgment if you do have that kind of complex, but the fact that we don't have a lot of options to experience emotional vulnerability might be the reason why. But of course, the manosphere doesn't really care about you being three-dimensional. No, you're a man. You just want sex. There's nothing else to it. Definitely don't look into it. The only way that you'll be happy is if you go around acting like royalty, making everyone submit to you, basically being a jerk and a bully and a dick. And that's how you get happy. Their content is all predicated on the idea that in order for you to feel in control and happy as a man, you need to unlock the beast within. It's actually kind of unclear if they think that men are born as Cro-Magnon cavemen or if we're not, but that's how we should be. It actually kind of changes depending on the point they're trying to make. It's some hyper-Chad persona that ironically is not big enough to fit your personality inside. But they promise you that if you somehow stuff yourself inside this tiny little man box, then you'll get your dividends as a man. And of course, these guys cannot handle the existence of men who disagree with them. In their mind, the only way that someone could think that what they're saying is stupid is if they're simping, as if a man couldn't possibly have an opinion on his own. No, men only have opinions to get laid. These guys themselves shrink their personalities down so they can portray this successful, confident person that they are not. It's really obvious that they are insecure and paranoid. And that doesn't sound like a fun existence to me. It doesn't sound like a successful existence to me. And that kind of brings me to my next point. Okay, so if you follow their post-pickup artist macho donkey advice, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to successfully turn yourself into a knuckle-dragging super mutant, or you're going to fail at that because you're going to be too much of a human being to fit yourself inside their really narrow and rigid gender role. But let's say you succeed. You might increase your body count. Ugh. Notice they use a term for how many people you've murdered to refer to how many people you've had sex with. Sex is war! Sounds like a fun existence. You might wind up attracting more sexual partners, but you will most likely be unhappy. You'll feel the same way that you do now. Because all that stuff I said before about why a lot of men want sex so bad, because it brings you respect and validation and allows you to cross some grand threshold into manhood, none of that stuff is true. It's a really harsh realization we don't prepare boys for. You wind up sleeping with someone and you don't feel any more manly. You don't feel any less lonely. If you follow their advice, you got it by manipulating women and talking down to them. You got it by dominating a woman. If you are even a halfway decent person, you won't like the person that you've become. It'll start as a small feeling at first, and it'll grow and grow and grow until you are sick. You'll constantly be jealous, insecure, on edge, because these guys tell you that if she wants the ladies' night, she wants to see other men. If she's looking cute on her socials, she's cheating on you. How are you going to get to know a person like this? How is she ever going to get to know you? How are you ever going to be happy together? Your relationship will be based on nothing but superficiality, and it doesn't feel good. And if you're not interested in a relationship and you just want that casual sex, you're going to find out that that sex doesn't actually get you all that stuff I said before. The validation, the respect, the self-worth. You won't feel any different. Actually, you'll probably just feel like a worse person because you will be. You didn't get it by connecting with a person because you didn't allow yourself to be a person around them. Society tells men the notches on your belt are directly correlated with your self-worth. It's not true.
Some child is outside enjoying their life, playing with toys and smiling in the sunshine and having fun. I hate happiness. I hate happy children. Anyway, you're all losers.
I believe I can hurt any man on the planet.
And let's say you aren't successful in turning yourself into the cartoon that they want you to be. If that's the case, you might start thinking to yourself, well, I'm not successful being myself, and I'm not successful trying to be someone else. I guess I'll never be successful. And then they wander off and find the black pill, and that's dangerous. The last thing we need is more lost men, particularly because society tells us that the only really acceptable emotional response that we're allowed to have is anger, and that it's really manly to act on that anger physically. A big component to this is these guys are really wrong about why sex is good in the first place. Sex isn't so great because of the sensation of another body. It's great because of the sensation of another person. That doesn't mean you have to be in love. It just means that you have to be connected. That's why sex is really only sex if there's consent involved. She wants you. She's psyched to be there. There's something about you. If she's not desiring you, if she's not consenting, what are you doing? You're acting out of anger and resentment. Because of course, men can only be happy if they're in total control, dominating women. Honestly, all those outcomes are terrible, and it's wild because there is definitely another way. If you're having trouble interacting with the world and becoming successful by your own definition, as yourself. You don't need to change who you are. You don't need to become more of a man. The answer is true of all people, of all genders. You just need to develop yourself. Don't change who you are. Grow. Be more yourself. If you're interested in that, maybe watch that cool deprogramming playlist that Noah Samson put together. Maybe see what the other side is saying for real. Honestly, I'm tired of other men telling me that I'm not worth anything unless I act like a vicious animal. And if you're a man and watching this, I think you should be too. Okay, concluding thoughts. A bunch of knuckleheads on the internet hate men as well as women. And that was my first video. I don't know if that was long or short. We're just gonna have to see. Ooh, I could record both. Hang on a second. That was such a long video. That was such a short video. That was a medium length video. Guess I just wanted to dip my toes in for the first video. I've got lots more planned. Millions, in fact. If that interests you, definitely like and subscribe. Why would you even ask me? There are little buttons down there. It's so fun to press. There's like one's like this. And then there's another one that says subscribe. Good God, it's going to help me. I literally have 0 subscribers at the time of filming. Why is that turning on? Blah.